since the first movie, you use athletes to run after actors?
Yes, we did. So I got a bunch of them to do a workshop, and I said, you've got to run at me as fast as you can and as violently as you can and try to kill me, but don't, you know. And I remember thinking,
hello, sir.
Olivier.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, enchanté.
Please sit down. Enchanté. Bonjour, Monsieur Boyle. Hello, Danny. and welcome here. And thank you so much for being here with us for this new episode of Grand Écran.
Right.
So we are in the movie theater here.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Publicis Cinéma de Champs-Élysées. And to start this conversation, I wanted to ask you, what does the movie theater experience represent for you today in a world where, like, the co-CEO of Netflix recently said that seeing films in cinemas was outdated and obsolete. So how do you feel about that?
He would say that, of course he would. You think it's, I mean, for me, I'm a twin. I have a twin sister.
Okay.
And when, on our 11th birthday, my dad took me to see The Battle of the Bulge, and my mom took my sister to see Sound of Music in cinemas. So that was gender stereotyping straight away. But I'll never forget that experience. And you want that in people's lives, not just as something that's in the corner of your room and that you, 365 days a year, it's just there like a broom or, you know, some groceries. You want it to feel sacred. It's like church. It's something that you go to for a particular kind of nourishment that's different. So with all due respect to Netflix, there is some terrific work on Netflix, of course there is. There's something about the whole experience of going to a cinema, not just what's on the screen, but what you feel as you arrive here, the effort you make to get here. The obligation then is on the director to produce something that is worthy of you coming here, rather than sitting at home watching it on the television. So it's a call to be bold and imaginative and new and original, and it's exciting. I think it's also about young people. Cinema is principally and still driven by younger people. That's the audience. Yeah. And I think that's a good thing because they want originality. They don't just want to copy what's gone before. They want something new every time. So for me, it's more important than church. Yeah.
I totally agree with you. I'm happy your answer.
Well, you would. You're John Carpenter, absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly. Do you know what 28 years later is called in France?
Well, it'll be 28.
Temps plus tard.
Yeah.
Because most of your movies, like the titles in France, are almost the same, except for Shallow Grave, your first movie.
Yes.
Do you know what it was?
Petit meurtre d'un ami.
Yeah, Petit meurtre entre amis. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was like really different.
So the first movie, I was very grateful to France because that film was quite a hit here.
Yeah.
Bigger than anywhere else. Oh yeah. Everybody said, yeah, the French, they love having friends who they murder. A little murder among friends, they love that. Yeah, but it went down very well here, so I'm very grateful for that. Yeah.
I want to show you a picture.
Yeah.
This is one of the first pictures we saw of 28 years later. Yes. And everybody thought it was Cillian Murphy.
I know. I had a girlfriend at the time and she said, everybody will think that's Cillian Murphy. And I said, shush, don't be silly. That's not Cillian like that. And of course, when the film came out, everybody said it's Cillian Murphy. So I had to apologise to her. This is Angus, in fact. Angus is an art dealer. He's a kind of art dealer. And I persuaded him to come in and do an audition for us. And he came in and he looks like he's dead. I mean, literally, but he's not.
I saw real pictures of him. He looks like that. Yeah.
And special photographers around the world asked to use him as a model and things like that. But he rolled around the floor and did lots of things for us on the audition. So, yes, but everybody thinks it's Cillian Murphy. It's not Cillian Murphy, though it does look like Cillian Murphy's been on one of those drug loss, one of those weight loss drugs, like Ozempic or whatever it's called. That's what it looks like he does. I don't know how he stays alive, but he does. He never seems to eat anything. He just drinks gin. And it's got a very serious point as well because some of the infected starve to death because they haven't learned to eat and they just burn up so much energy with rage that they burn up so many calories, they just die. But the other infected, this is one of the evolutionary things that's happened, have learned to eat. Now, to eat And to eat meat, you can't hunt on your own. It doesn't work like that because they don't have weapons. So they have to organize as a group.
As packs.
As a pack. Yeah. And so that's an evolutionary stage that they've moved into. So the virus has evolved in that stage, and there's two other things that we see in the movie that it's evolved to as well. So not only did the survivors survive, but the virus has survived as well.
Yeah. To finish on Cillian, he's not in this movie. We can say...
Where is he?
Yeah, but will he be... Is that a true thing? Will he be in the other movies that you have planned?
Yes.
Okay.
Will. So he's executive producer on this movie, so he's been involved in this movie, and I'm delighted to say he likes it very much. But always the idea was that we would make 3 films, 3 standalone films. You can watch each film separately. You don't even need to have seen 28 Days Later. You can just watch 28 Years Later on its own. And then there's a second film, which has already been shot, called The Bone Temple, which is directed by Nia DaCosta.
Who did Candyman.
Who did Candyman, that wonderful Candyman film, yeah. And towards the end of that film, you might meet. You will know it's coming because you'll hear some music. And anyway, she's done it beautifully. I was really surprised the way she'd done it because I've seen a rough cut of it. She's cutting it at the moment. Anyway, and then in the third film, that is Cillian's film. Okay. So eventually he will be.
And you will be directing it.
And all being well. Okay. God willing, I will be directing that at that moment. That's what we've agreed so far. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when 28 Days Later came out, you refused to call your monster, your zombies, your infected zombies.
Yeah, because they're not undead. They're not the undead. They are literally you and me. They are people, and what they're infected with, we all have. We carry rage, all of us. You know, I'm sure you've lost your temper, where you just go, and it's just you can't see anything other than your anger or frustration. Yeah. So that is just intensified and concentrated and completely dominates their lives. And that's why they're so dangerous, because they'll just pass on that infection to you. But they're still people. They're still people in a way, lost in that terrible infection. But also the zombies carried the connotations when we made the first film of walking very slowly. And
yours were running.
Yeah, we wanted it to be very, very dangerous for a modern audience. Because obviously a young audience would look at the zombies who would, and you just go, well, you just run away. Whereas we wanted to make it feel that wasn't an option. They would find you very, very, very quickly. And also that they could come out of nowhere at you as well, that they were random. We're part of the genre, but we wanted to separate ourselves from some of the traditions of the genre.
I remember a lot of people, old zombie guards, were shocked about those zombies that were running suddenly, they were really fast. But I thought it was an incredible idea.
No, it was good. It was good. It worked very well for us, so we were very keen. We were very keen to repeat that. So they do in this one as well. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Since 28 Days, there has been like a zombie-infected comeback in movies and series. I mean, thanks to you, in a way, I guess.
Yeah, I don't get any pay from that.
But were you surprised? Have you seen The Walking Dead, like this
opening The Walking
scene
Dead,
where Rick's, like he wakes up in a hospital like Cillian does in London?
Yeah. Also, you have to be humble. We also borrowed that from Day of the Triffids. It's the same opening as Day of the Triffids. So everybody borrows from everybody else. And it's what you do with that opportunity once you take it. It's what you run with it. So yeah, there's been Walking Dead, Last of Us, World War Z. There's just loads of kind of different iterations of it. And it's great. I think that horror is a really wonderful genre because it's become more and more important. Clearly, the world is getting crazier and crazier because horror helps you kind of address it sometimes. And interestingly, they also say that, like when we made the first film, 28 Days Later, I remember them saying, no, women won't see it because they don't go to horror. That's not true now. Women are an increasing part of the audience for horror movies. So it's growing, its reach is growing. And it's one of the ways that the cinema experience, what you first spoke about, stays alive because it's one of the dependable ways that you can get the audience in to see a movie. Because people like the physical experience of being scared in a dark room with a lot of strangers. It's quite an exciting thing to do, yeah.
And funny thing, 1 year after 28 Days Later came out Shaun of the Dead. It was also about zombies, but the more classic.
Yeah, and a comedy about it, yeah.
Yeah.
It was very, very funny, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Do something! Wait there. Ed! 2 seconds. Jeez, look, I'm really flattened and everything, really, but I just... And hold it there.
About the zombie running, the infected, sorry,
Yes.
running. Since the first movie, you use athletes to run after actors.
Yes, we
like,
did.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I know Jodie Comer said she never knew when the infected would stop running, so she was really scared and running for her life.
You have to keep running.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of athletes retire when they're 30 because their careers are over, because they're no longer elite enough at that, you know, they have to retire. But some of them joined an agency that gave them work, found them work. And their work was to go to the Middle East and do some tumbles or some acrobatics, and then open a supermarket. It was like they became like circus performers, if you like. So I got a bunch of them to do a workshop, and I did a workshop in a room a little bit bigger than this. And I was in one corner, and I said, you've got to run at me as fast as you can and as violently as you can, and try to kill me, try to tear me apart, but don't, you know. And they did.
Stop before.
Oh, yeah, and it was scary. And I remember thinking, whoa, that's scary. Because most of us are not athletes. You know, we don't have bodies that have that power. They do. And it's different. When they come at you, it's like really frightening. So we kept that tradition going. And Jodie's right, you have to keep running. They certainly did on the set. We have to. They were just told to keep running, and
So you like to scare your actors sometimes.
Oh yeah, no, if you can do, it's great. Yeah.
Okay, let me show you a video.
Okay, I have a question for Danny, and just because I've worked with Danny, and I feel like he's such an instinctive director. It was really interesting how on a day you can have a plan and an idea for a day, but when you got there, he can have a brand new idea and just go with his gut instinct. And I love that about his directing. It's so bold, and like he uses his intuition. And so my question is, how did that kind of come about? How did you develop that? When did you find the confidence to go with your instinct rather than the sort of plan that you had in front of you?
Oh right, okay. That's very clever. Have you done that this morning?
Yeah.
You have to have a plan, because, you know, even for a shoot like this, there's so many people, they have to know what they're going to do, or feel that they know what they're going to do. But also, I could see, as soon as I started working, I could see quite quickly that when they knew what they were doing, they relaxed and kind of just, you know, started looking at their phones, or there weren't phones back then, but they start reading the newspaper because they thought their job was done. And I don't like that. I like people to be all alert and everybody to be all on it at the same time. So I would always have a plan, which I would call, that's plan B, and we could always revert to that. But plan A was to respond to the day. Because an actor, you can rehearse a scene a couple of weeks beforehand. They can come to the scene on the day and their grandma has died 2 days before, and they're a different person. There's something different about them.
Their emotions change.
Yeah, emotions change. The map that you're reading on them is the contours have flexed, have moved, and it may be tiny things, it may be quite traumatic things. It may be very wonderful things. They might have got married and very happily, like, you know, whatever it is. So you want to plow into that and find out where that leads you that day. You still have the script, and you still have a plan that you could revert to, so that everybody does, you know, if you get taken away, if the tax men arrive and arrest you, or you get taken ill or whatever, but there's still a plan of how to do things. But it's not what is to be expected, and it keeps everybody on their toes, especially the actors, which is a lovely thing to do, because they like to remain fresh if they can, you know.
And do you think Aaron Taylor-Johnson would have made a great James Bond?
I do, actually. It's an interesting film to have been on.
Yeah.
Because Aaron Taylor-Johnson, I don't know what's happening. They were all talking about him being Bond, so there's that, and he's clearly he's a fantastic action actor.
It's really physical.
He's really good, and he works really hard at it. He's a proper professional about how you do action. He doesn't just accept it and leave it to stuntmen or anything like that. He really knows how to do it. If you had to have a female Bond, you could not get one better than Jodie Comer.
Oh, yeah.
She'd be an amazing female Bond. And we have Ralph Fiennes, who is in the James Bond anyway, and probably should have been to James Bond like 30 years ago. So there you go, we got 3 Bonds already. Anyway.
In one movie. How did COVID inspire you for this movie? And did COVID inspire you? Because when it happened, when London shut down,
yes.
I mean, we all thought of 20 days later.
You couldn't.
Iconic scene.
I know you couldn't help but think of it, couldn't you? Because there was all this footage and it was the same shots. Also, if you want to show London empty, you want to show those shots we showed. There's nobody around, and yet these are very busy tourist spots.
And those,
all those classic images.
Yeah.
Yes, it was really interesting because obviously we thought of that. But what was more interesting was that you also began to think about how we changed during COVID. Because when COVID began, we were all super nervous, weren't we? I remember wearing blue gloves to take in the vegetables and disinfect them and just
leave them 48 hours in front of your door.
All that it's just crazy stuff. And then you start to relax and you take a few more risks and you don't put disinfectants on the vegetables and you take them in. And that was interesting thinking about if there'd been infection for 28 years, people would be less cautious. They'd be careful because it is dangerous, but they would have established a way of coexisting. They'd established parameters. And this community that live on Holy Island, they do visit the mainland where the infection is. They've got to get fuel from there. That's the trees. They cut down all the trees, thousands of trees they've cut down in order to fuel their lifestyle, their community. But so they need to exist over there as well.
I want to show you
Yes.
Saying the other day that you love Teletubbies, and I was just wondering if you was a Teletubby, which Teletubby would you be?
Who do you identify with?
Who do you identify with, Daddy? Sorry and thank you.
It's funny, isn't it? The Teletubbies. It's
somebody because we can say the movie starts with kids watching the Teletubbies.
Yes, it does.
That's really pretty unexpected.
Sit here. Auntie, what's going on? Jimmy, sit still, keep quiet, and do not move from this spot.
It's sort of devastating, really, because you kind of take innocence. It's a great... children's entertainment is a great image of innocence, isn't it? Whether it's Power Rangers or Teletubbies or whatever you use, and then you just tear it to shreds in front of your eyes. We were thinking at one point of actually getting some Teletubbies and putting the camera in amongst them at one point. I was going to do that, but we didn't do it in the end. Anyway, we got permission to use the Teletubbies and tear them up. And which one would I be? I think I'd be the red one. I can't remember their names. I think I'd be the red one, because I'm a Manchester United fan. Congratulations, by the way, to PSG. I'm a PSG fans. It's an excellent result and very well deserved. Best team.
So all your movies have really strong openings, and this one included. It's important for you to really captivate the audience from the start with like a really strong and visceral scene. And
yes, I think you don't have to do that because they're already here. They've paid and they're going to stay for probably the whole length of the thing, unless it's terrible. So it's not like you need to grab them, but I think you should display your ambition early on. It's like a compact. And the size or the idea, the ambition, the imaginative ambition that you have is there right from the get-go, and then you will return to that level and try to elevate from it, really. So I love editing. And there's a famous saying amongst editors that there are only 2 things that matter in a film: the beginning and the end, and the beginning not so much. Okay. And that's one of their principles about that. And it's really interesting because the thing about the ending is you should be always looking for your ending, because it'll be written, there'll be a version of it in your script, but actually you should be looking for your ending because it's the completion of all the ingredients of everything every day that you've done, of all the different contributions that people have made. You should be looking for how they end in a way. I find that, I love that process.
So on AlloCiné, our website, we ask movie goers to give notes to movies. Do you know which one of your movies is number one, as the best note?
No, what?
Slumdog Millionaire.
Really?
Yeah. In front of Trainspotting and Shallow Grave and Sunshine.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah, no. It's funny, Sunshine did very badly when it came out. But people love that movie. Journalists especially always talk to me about it. So yeah, no, it's well, that's very nice, Slumdog. I mean, yeah, the Indian diaspora is huge, so I think that's probably partially responsible for keeping it up
Did you
there.
expect that movie to be that big or an Oscar, you know?
No, we made a third of the film is in Hindi, you know, and back then it was just like crazy. In fact, Warner Brothers, who paid for the movie, they didn't want it. They kind of they were kind of trying to get rid of it. Oh yeah, they didn't understand it. I remember going to a screening in a room like this of the movie, and the executives were watching it, and they just couldn't fathom it at all. So fortunately, it found a home at Fox. When they started showing it to actual ordinary cinema goers, they turned it into a hit because they responded to it in a way that executives don't really understand. And they understand when they see the reaction, but they can't anticipate it. So it was the public that made it a hit. Yeah, because it went to Telluride Festival and Toronto Festival, and the public went mad for it. Yeah. So that's always a great testing place for it. Yeah.
So just to finish, I have a gift for you because I know how much punk rock means to you.
Yes, it does.
And it's important in your work. So this is two French bands. This is Berlinois. This is like 80s band like The Clash.
Yeah,
they're really Joe Strummer dissonance. Even
are they still together?
No, they stopped like 30 years ago.
Oh wow! I play vinyl at home. I have vinyl at home.
I thought you would.
Yes.
And this is the Sheriff. This is like the French Ramones. They still play. They've been around for 45 years. So.
Oh wow! Okay, cool. Well, I love the Ramones.
Because I know you often talk about punk rock and how it influenced your work.
Big time. I'm very proud of the fact it does. Lou Reed, just before he died, he said, "I remain in my heart a punk. It's the most important thing there is. It's energy. It's disrespect. It's kind of just going your own way." And it's the energy feeds itself. It's a wonderful thing. So yeah, I remain a very proud punk, and I hope it infects everything I do. This reminds me. So there was a band in Scotland called the Infectés. Oh my God, they were amazing. Two guys. They had a steel sheet on the floor. They used to stamp on it like this and play acoustic guitar like this. They were so punk. It was fantastic.
And to finish, can you sign the clap for us?
Yeah, of course.
And I wonder what happens to Paris in 28.
Yes. So the big Brexit happened. Brexit happened. So we thought what we'll do is we'll say in a card at the beginning that the infection was forced back over the channel back to where it came from, which is Britain. Okay. So Europe is safe and Paris is okay. So you can go on and win the European Champions League this year. That all carries on. That's all going on anyway, you know, so you wouldn't be robbed of that. How do you say Grand Écran?
Grand Écran.
Grand Écran.